Welcome to Overreaction Monday. It is a free agency version of this show. Chris Brockman, Rich Eisen with you right here on Overreaction Monday.
Hey,
good to see you.
Good to see you, man. What's happening?
Happy New League Year to you, sir.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, it is that day.
And I'm totally not wearing green.
Okay. I am not either.
I can't imagine that you are Irish, but I'm like a third. So, I mean, I should have done that.
I have no idea. I haven't swabbed myself recently.
My sister did it, so I assume we have the same DNA.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good to know. Hey, so we're on the air for this edition of the program on the Monday after the free agency negotiation window opened up.
Yep.
And I know you don't have a subject for me to overreact to or react to on this topic. So we're going to just chit-chat it off the top.
Okay.
Because it's kind of stunning to me that here we are 1 week into the process, and Aaron Rodgers still has not made his intentions known. Now, this could change literally 5 minutes into our show, and it could change 5 minutes after we stop recording this show, and it could change 5 minutes after somebody has downloaded this show, if they're listening to it, or they're watching it on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That said, we just have to talk about it. The fact that he has not made a decision, and we went into the weekend of free agency week thinking he's choosing between the Steelers and the Giants. Both of them are waiting on him.
Yeah, the report this morning is that the Giants, there's a standing offer. Just there it is. It's on the table.
Well,
like,
I'm sure the Steelers have it too.
Yeah.
And the Giants had Russell in, and the Browns had Russell in, and the Giants, as of this recording, are having Jameis Winston in, and the Steelers have signed Mason Rudolph. There is obviously a draft to backfill if Rodgers says no to one, or as The Athletic reported over the weekend, he could say no to both by trying to get himself to Minnesota. I thought he was going to try and get himself to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's what we were talked about all last week as being kind of the best spot, I think.
Well, best spot in terms of him making the playoffs over his other option, which was the Giants, or is the Giants.
Right.
And, you could try and turn the Giants into gold. You can be the Rumpelstiltskin quarterback of this whole situation.
Should I write that down? Fancy.
Rumpelstiltskin quarterback?
Not bad.
Sure. And I think, again, the way that I was looking at it is that the Giants are just way too much of a situation similar to the Jets. And I'm not just talking about they play in the same stadium, right? They're from the same area.
Right.
I'm just saying an ownership group that is eager to see wins immediately. And if he doesn't provide it, then everybody's ass gets fired.
Right.
And he just went through that with the Jets. And the Steelers are not that. And the Steelers are completely different from that. And the Steelers are completely different from the Giants in the fact that they made the playoffs last year and that they do have a bunch of players on defense and, one would think on offense as well. I just don't know the ages off the top of my head. More likely than more on defense, closer to Rodgers' age group, whereas the Giants are a bunch of kids.
Right.
With the exception of Brian Burns, grown-ass man. The Steelers are more close to Rodgers' station in life, and Tomlin isn't going anywhere, and the ownership group is not going to bounce the general manager either, even if he does not perform. I just think that would be a better choice. I mean, there's DK Metcalf, who's gotten more years in the league than Malik Neighbors, right? And so, I'm looking at this whole scenario and thinking, of course he wants to go to Pittsburgh over the Giants. And then the Athletic is like, no, it's the Vikings. Which, again, makes sense.
From a football standpoint.
Sure.
But from a life standpoint, I don't get that.
What do you mean by a life standpoint?
Being Brett Favre 2.0, the guy whose career he saw how it unfolded at the end. And you'd think a logical thinking person would be like, I don't want my career to end like that.
Well,
Disaster Jets, Vikings, one good year, and then it all fell apart at the end because of injury. And then, weird off-field stuff. Like, I can't imagine he would want to do that and have forever be linked in a conversation like, oh, Favre and Rodgers, they did it exactly the same. So much talent, only one Super Bowl. Favre, 3 MVPs in a row. Rodgers, 4. Only one Super Bowl. A lot of what ifs with those guys.
Or Rodgers has the best chance to finish with a ring there, more than any other. And he also gets to go back into Lambeau. And he goes back into Soldier Field, which I do believe he would do anyway, going to the Steelers, because the Steelers play the NFC North, and one of the visits would be to Soldier Field. But he would play the NFC North again one more time, which I kind of feel twice, like he's in the NFC North one last time before his career is capped. He also has the reigning coach of the year there, who is more of the quarterback guy.
True.
And is an exact contemporary of his. They're damn near the same age. And on top of all that, there's Justin Jefferson out there, like the best. The undisputed, I believe, with all due respect to Jamar Chase, who just got paid over the weekend. And I imagine that's part of Overreaction Monday, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, and Addison and Hawkinson and his buddy Aaron Jones.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Jordan
Mason they acquired
Harrison
over the weekend.
Smith in the
Still
back end.
there.
The defense is ready to roll. They won 14 games last year.
Right.
All they needed was him to get rid of the ball instead of Sam Darnold, who was taking the sacks against the Lions and the Rams. That's all they needed was him. He alone can fix it.
But again, like I said, like say he struggles out of the gate, and McCarthy, he has a great spring. Then it's first take, and it's me, and it's
it's not just that. I don't think I don't think he cares as much about
Rodgers be benched for JJ McCarthy.
As I've told you before, I don't think he cares that much about the first.
I'm sure
take.
that he doesn't care, but would be a league-wide, TV-wide topic.
But, and then we'll get to Overreaction Monday, just to wrap it up. The voices he would hear. Okay, he could tune out the first takes and the us's and all that sort of stuff. The voices he would hear would be in the stands, because he does not have any standing with the Vikings fans.
No,
as a matter of fact, it would be difficult for some of these Vikings fans to swallow seeing him in their uniform. Unlike, I think, Favre back in the day, they were able to see that he was more welcome of a savior.
Well, he was awesome right away. That year was incredible.
But I think he was more welcome there. I do believe it was a no-brainer. If obviously my memory is serving here.
It was 15 years ago.
It was a no-brainer. They were like, oh, he's definitely healthier now from the time with the Jets last year.
Right.
He's coming here. He wants to beat the Packers. He has got this grinding axe. We will use that to our benefit. We need Brett Favre. I don't think a lot of fans here for the Vikings, from what I'm hearing, would be generally psyched. Like, I think they're preparing themselves. Let's go through the bumps and bruises with this kid who won a championship for Michigan. Yeah. This fresh-faced kid. Let's go with him instead of stunting his growth and bringing in Rodgers. And if Rodgers starts 4-0, 5-0, all's good in the hood.
Right.
4-1. He starts 3-2. We're going back and forth on it. 2-3, 1-4. Good night, nurse. You know what I mean? And I don't know why Rodgers would want to put himself in that situation,
I don't
which
know.
is why maybe he's contemplating retirement. Period. Kind of wild.
Wow.
Again, this conversation could be completely moot.
Could be,
and we might hear about it in a minute. But in the meantime, let's hit Overreaction Monday. Hit it, please.
That was terrible. That was crap. That was garbage. This place sucks.
Overreaction Monday.
All right, Christopher.
Okay, Rich. Yeah, you mentioned the Bengals late-breaking Sunday night news. They got these guys done. T. Higgins, monster move, $40+ million. Jamar Chase, $40+ million. T. Higgins gets a massive extension as well. That's cool. But if they don't keep Trey Hendrickson, 2025 will go just like 2024 for the Bengals, missed playoffs.
Because of the defense won't be shored up.
What, are they going to win every game, 42-40?
I hope not for their sake.
It didn't work last year.
Well, again, it's going to come down to what Hendrickson's market is right now, right? And whatever's happened, whatever the Bengals have, ventured down the road with Hendrickson and he with the team, hasn't materialized in anything yet.
No, not even rumors.
And so what that means is the later, the more the clock ticks, the fewer options he will have than to return. And that could be part of their play. I don't know what it is. It's entirely possible that he still does come back. They figure something out where he's in the fold for 2025. Mike Mayock, who joins our show every Tuesday this time of year now, pointed out at the very beginning. He's like, they're going to go up. They're going to go get the receivers done. Mm-hmm. And if there's any guy who's going to be on the outside looking in, it's going to be Trey Hendrickson. And that's what's materialized, because you do have to take care of Joe Burrow first. You keep mentioning over and over again, as we talk about quarterbacks under the most pressure of 2025, you keep mentioning that Burrow is on the Marino career path. You've mentioned that multiple times. And obviously it's early. It's very early.
It's early.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
But the Marino career path is one Super Bowl, never made it back, one of the best of his era, and Hall of Famer, but ... Every single time he walks in the Hall of Fame room, and there's going to be Brady, there's Peyton Manning already, there's...
His hands are empty.
Right. So, I understand they had to do this. I just, again, don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand teams that don't act when they should. And it's the writing's on the wall. It screams on the wall. Do it now.
I mean,
and
Chase got 40 plus, and he could have signed last year for what?
Well, CeeDee Lamb signed last year for $34.5 million.
There you go. 35 got it done.
So you're talking about $5-6 more million a year because you waited a year. Yep. And again, I don't know what their cash situation was. I don't know why they didn't do it. I don't know what happened. But the bottom line is, we all knew Jamar Chase needed to be re-signed. He wasn't going to go anywhere. These guys have been doing it together since friggin' college, and they are now doing it in a manner in the NFL that is second to none, right? And so there may be some who do it just as well as them, but Burrow to Chase is something that should stick together for as long as Burrow and Chase are in the NFL. And they did it, and congratulations to them. And the fact that they franchise tagged Teagans last year to keep kicking that can down the road, and now they have finally drunk from that can. It's very expensive, and you are now tying up two guys at positions that are potentially vulnerable, because all you need is to have a defense that just prevents one from going off on the other. And again, that's why I still don't understand, and I know I'm kind of going down a wormhole here with the running back spots about paying them. Why they don't pay running backs? Because those guys are potentially more dependable than a wide receiver who can be covered or have a safety shaded over the top and removed from the
running
offense.
back gets the ball twice as much.
But having two of them opens things up, and you have to do that for Burrow. The fact that Trey Hendrickson is not there does not guarantee that 2025 will go just like 2024. Let's see who they draft. Let's see what they do. Defensively, they're going to have a new DC in with a new set of eyes. Let's see what happens. And Trey Hendrickson may come back in the fold anyway. But if they can't keep him, it's going to go just like 2024 missed playoffs. I can't sit there and say they start 0-3 and keep spinning their wheels and not get out of the hole. I can't say that. I'll call this an overreaction.
AFC is only going to get better. Some teams have to miss the playoffs.
Understand.
Rich, as I just said, some teams have to miss the playoffs. I believe some teams aren't contenders anymore. Okay?
Right. Uh-huh.
The 49ers Super Bowl contending window
is shut.
That's closed. Was it Micah Parsons that said it's time to pay the big boy? Welcome to reality. And reality is hit for the 49ers.
I totally understand the premise here. I totally
And this isn't me being a hater.
No, I know that. I get it. I totally get it. I just think if everybody comes back healthy, have they remade themselves? Can they be like the Rams and the Bills? They remade themselves and everybody thought it's over, and then it wasn't. Man.
Obviously draft to come, but what have they done in free agency that's been...
Well, they did bring Juszczyk back, which was a nice surprise, and then they tendered Jordan Mason only to trade him to Minnesota.
They lose Greenlaw, Funga. They lose a couple key guys on defense.
And more than just a couple.
So
So they lost some guys up front. I'm still going to say the stars are there, and we'll just have to see. The guy on the screen, for those who are listening, is Brock Purdy. It's really on him.
It is.
In this quarterback-driven league, and the coach to coach him up. And I'm just going to say the contending window is not closed.
Super Bowl contending.
I got it. I understand. I removed the Super Bowl.
The key.
I can't
item
sit here again. There's some cheese that I took with the Rams and the Bills that's now out there on the table, and I'm not going to take it for the 49ers. I'm just going to say I get it. I understand the premise, and I understand that I will be in the minority when I call this an overreaction. They're just too damn good. There's too many damn good players still there.
That's true, but is it enough? I guess.
I don't have the answer to the question. I hope Ayuk comes back healthy. I hope Juwan Jennings, who could have won the Super Bowl MVP a couple of years ago, is that good. Ricky Pearsall did come on strong at the end of last year. You've got Christian McCaffrey hopefully coming back healthy with Trent Williams. They draft well with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and then off you go.
Where do you put them in the West right now? Rams are one, but is Seattle ahead of them?
I don't know about
Cardinals
that.
on the rise?
Cardinals are on the rise, and Seattle just changed considerably there. So I understand why the Niners would, and Niners finished last. So they're going into this coming year with a last place schedule, if that matters anymore.
That helps.
And Brock Purdy is going to get paid, and we shall see. And everyone's healthy. What really could cost them is they may have lost their depth. That the next man up is now the first man up.
There you go.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But I'll call this an overreaction because I'm still not completely a Myles Garrett caused cynic just yet. I'm pushing back. That man's going to turn me into a cynic.
Buy you a Darth Vader mask.
Thank you.
Rich, I can't believe that we're still talking about this dude after I bodied him a few years ago. But Daniel Jones is going to win more games than the Giants this year.
That's entirely possible. I don't think that's an overreaction. You know how I feel. Like, if this is truly an open competition, somebody of Daniel Jones's experience should beat out Anthony Richardson.
Should.
Unless if Anthony Richardson truly does not have we drafted him in the top of the draft 2 years ago, and our jobs are depending on his success, thumb on the scale. If that thumb is not placed on the scale, Daniel Jones should beat him out. It's that simple. Because Daniel Jones has a similar skill set to Anthony Richardson. He can throw it and he can run it. I can't believe it would just flash that one time in the wild card game against the Minnesota Vikings. He looked like.
Remember his first game
against
the
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So he looks like vintage Kaepernick when he does it. He really does. I don't think I'm crazy. Some people might think me saying that. He is fast. He's big. He's strong. He's got a big arm, and he can run it. And I know this may be said over and over and over again until he's cost, a handful of coaches their jobs at the end of the day. Yeah. But there is, I believe, a sense in Indianapolis that they will really give him a chance to win the job, and I think he's going to win the job, and I think he's going to be the first week starter. And if he struggles, then you bring in the kid. It's better than the other way around.
It is.
Okay, where the kid really has a holy shit moment. I am not the pole position guy here anymore. They really do mean whatever they've been saying to me to try and get me to understand that my skill set is terrific, but everything else is not supporting my skill set that I'm bringing to the table. And they have a really good team otherwise. And if they cut down the turnovers and this guy can do what he does at the top of his game when he's successful, and the Giants don't figure out the quarterback situation and they win 6 games, I think the Colts absolutely will win more games than the Giants this year. You could say that right now. The only question is, will Daniel Jones be the starter for those wins? And I think he's going to get the gig. So that's not an overreaction.
Like this one. Okay.
I buy this one.
All right.
I buy that one.
All right, Rich, I'm going to throw some more cheese out there for you.
The question is, would Joe Shane survive that?
Oh, well.
the other guy that they
I know. I like that we're a little bit in the era now of other teams' success or player success affecting other teams' GMs.
Well, if they let the guy walk.
Right.
Look what happened to John Robinson in Tennessee.
Right. Interesting. The Broncos are going to win the AFC West.
Okay, pal. Listen. Come on. I'm high on the Broncos, too, but that's still the Kansas City freaking Chiefs, dude. I'm not taking this cheese.
Look who came out. It's still the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl losing Kansas City Chiefs. We saw how that's gone for the most recent few Super Bowl losers.
Yeah. The hangover is going to hit now. The hangover.
The success hangover.
Oh, the success hangover. What hangover is it? I can't figure it out. Is this the success hangover or they lost the Super Bowl hangover?
Well, it's both. When you combine both, that's
two hangovers together.
That's a dangerous hangover.
Okay, you know what? I got the prescription to get through that hangover. His name is Patrick Mahomes. Okay.
Which one though?
Reed.
The one that played in the Super Bowl?
All right, dude.
Rich, Denver's maybe had the best offseason so far.
I love what they've done.
Bo Nix is proving that he maybe should have been the second or third quarterback taken in the draft last year.
I get it.
He'd be number 1 overall this year. No doubt about it. They're going to get an offensive player in the draft. Is that Ashton Genty? Is it Tyler Warren? This is a team. Sean Payton still has his fastball. A lot of questions about that, when he took over. And I think Denver's on the rise.
They signed Evan Ingram, too, which they beat everyone to the Evan Ingram altar, which was a terrific signing there also. I do love what they're doing there. I really, really do. And they are building, and they're young, and they're strong, and they are physical, and they've got a coach who knows how to make it all work. So that's 100%.
Not those 49ers defenders.
That is the recipe for finally deposing the Kansas City Chiefs. I fully believe it. I get it. I understand it. This will be one of those. I need to see it to believe it. Hills, I am happy to die on. With this show, with anything I say into a microphone on this set, this is going to be one of those I will have to see it before I believe it type of hills on which to verbally die. That's what it is. I have taken too many cheeses in the AFC West that this is the time that the Chiefs go down.
Yep, I know you have.
And I'm not gonna do it anymore.
But at one point, you will be right.
Like a broken clock?
At one point, it won't be the Chiefs division anymore.
I understand that. But I don't know. The Broncos are building it. That is for sure. And 1 year ago at this time, we were like, okay, so you're dead capping Russ. You are dead in the water. What the hell are you going to do? Certainly because you're drafting too low for the quarterback that you're going to want. And they draft Bo Nix and look out. And here I am saying they're drafting too low to get Genty or Tyler Warren.
Who knows?
I get it. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
And Broncos fans have every reason to be ecstatic.
Geeked over the moon.
I totally agree. They are doing it the right way, and they look really good. And they have really made some terrific moves in the past week, which is the subject matter of this pod. I get it. But that's the Kansas City Chiefs you're talking about, pal.
Gotcha.
Overreaction. What else?
Rich, St. Patrick's Day was a deadline for Kirk Cousins. He's going to stick around in Atlanta.
Yes, he is.
I think that's
hold on. I don't know if he's going to stick around in Atlanta. The Falcons.
They're paying him.
The Falcons blew past the deadline over the weekend.
Yep.
By which $10 million in 2026 becomes guaranteed. So that didn't affect his salary this year. It affected next year. And their belief is that if he does go somewhere else in 2026, that'll just be offset. So it doesn't matter. This deadline didn't matter. Midnight has not struck for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. That's my setup for your overreaction is what?
Falcons keeping Kirk Cousins is the smart move. They're going to need him.
Oh, I agree.
They're going to need him.
Oh, I agree. And that's Cousins' problem. Is that it is a smart move for them.
It isn't up to him.
I mean, the reports, I forget who was it, Breer of Sports Illustrated, and I think Pelissero both said Arthur Blank has an open door policy. He had no problems meeting with Kirk Cousins, apparently. When Kirk's like, hey, my current situation requires a conversation.
Come on
and
in.
the owner's like, come on in.
Hey,
everything's great here. And by the way, I have been in Arthur Blank's office.
Oh, I bet it's...
Dude, Arthur Blank.
Built by Home Depot.
Hold on a second. Arthur Blank, in the second Thanksgiving game NFL Network ever broadcast, because NFL Network created the third window of Thanksgiving.
I remember that.
Which is a beautiful window. So it was year 2 of our Thanksgiving night series, and it was in Atlanta. and Arthur Blank invited the entire crew to dinner at his office. And we were like, oh, we're going to Arthur Blank's office for a crew dinner? And you're talking about three figures.
A lot of people. Yeah.
Not money, 3 figures of people.
Right.
The money, I'm sure, was
much more
highly significant because we're thinking offices. So it's like, okay, so we're going to split it up into a conference room here and a conference room there. And I'm thinking like prefabricated cubicles. It was one of the most beautiful setups I've ever been. It looked like a mansion, and they called it an office. And I'm like, Office Depot. It's like, you should have said we're going to his depot.
Yeah.
Dude, it was spectacular. Yeah. It was first rate. It was beautiful. It was generous. It was all sorts of stuff. That said, if this was the office he went into, I'm imagining that was, then Blank told him, we're doing what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. What's best for the Atlanta Falcons is to make sure that Michael Penix Jr. has Kirk Cousins, professional Kirk Cousins, in his ear, in his quarterback room. Period. End of story. End of story. And Kirk may not like it, but to go to work with Kirk Cousins telling you, hey, look out for this, I'm seeing this.
I would do this.
He's going through his preparations because he's a professional.
Yep.
And then Penix has had injury history.
Yep.
So if Penix goes down, you know who goes in?
Boom.
Kirk Cousins.
Guys won a lot of games.
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
You know, if he's not sitting there stewing, which he might, I mean,
he's making so much money.
If he's going to be a hostage,
$100 million from Atlanta. He's fine.
He's already got 90 in terms of cash laid out.
He's good.
And that's what Blank has got to be sitting there going, listen, I spent $90 million on that.
For like 10
on
games?
That. He doesn't even
last year?
He doesn't even to give the details. All he's got to do is on that. That's what I spent $90 million on?
You see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's another 27? Off we go. Cash more, cash out. It absolutely is the smart move for them to do it. If, he's an unwilling participant, that'll be on Raheem Morris to handle. Or, and the smart move too is Giants miss out on Rodgers.
We gotta flip,
Steelers miss out on Rodgers.
Conditional third or something?
The Browns miss out on a quarterback. Let's say Cam Ward goes off the board, right? Before them. They don't trade up to 1.
Titans take Cam Ward.
Let's just say that. And now they don't have the quarterback they're interested in. They again go through the draft. They don't draft back in the first round and get somebody. The second night, that person's already gone. They go through the draft. They miss. Okay. What's a third round selection on night 2?
Conditional becomes a second if you make the playoffs. I don't know.
Like what's it to them? They look at the board. They're like, we don't see anybody that we particularly like here. Call the Falcons. Give them the 3.
Yep.
That they were asking for, and we'll take on whatever salary there is. Sold. I mean, so you don't have to do anything right now.
Do you feel like he's on the Falcons week 1?
I kind of do.
I kind of do too.
Sold.
Kind of do.
Not an overreaction.
All right, Rich, 2 more. 2 more and we'll wrap it up.
No, sir.
You love the Jets your whole life.
Well, this sounds like a setup.
It's not a setup.
What's the setup?
It's not a setup.
What's the pitch? Just get to the pitch.
I think it's going to be great. Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson will be a top 5 TD combo in 2025.
That's pie in the sky, pal. Top 5.
College teammates.
So you're talking about what?
The dude is excited.
So you're talking about what? 12 touchdowns?
Talking about at least 12. Give me 12 tutties.
You know how I feel about the Justin Fields maneuver. I'm very high on it, pleased about it. When I heard Jerry Dulac last week come on the flagship and say that the contract that the Jets gave Justin Fields was ridiculous, I'm like, it's $20 million a year. That's a bargain for your quarterback.
Bargain.
Guy's in his mid-20s. Kick a tire. If you're the Jets and you're Aaron Glenn and you're starting from scratch and you say to their locker room, Aaron Rodgers is gone, guys. Aaron Glenn's here. I'm the AAA Ron here. I might have added an A. Right? And you're saying that. And you're setting up your locker room the way you want. And you're laying down your culture, your groundwork, and you turn to a kid and go, you're my guy. Justin Fields has gotten to have 0 people in his career where the entire building says, you're my guy.
That's right.
Okay, even after they traded for him. Remember Matt Nagy came in, he goes, we're going to treat him like Mahomes. He's our guy, but we're going to sit him the entire year.
Yep.
Remember I said to him on the flagship, I'm like, I don't think you're going to have that luxury.
Yeah.
Then he gets in, and we all know what happened. There may have been a few moments where he's the guy, but everyone's like wondering, is he the guy? Is he not the guy?
Well, I don't like.
Well, he's going to New York, and it's just like, you're the guy. You've gotten 2 years. We're giving you $40 million, and you recognize our number one player on offense. With all due respect to Breece Hall, you recognize him. It's like it's your guy Garrett.
Yeah,
old school. We're going old school.
Let's go.
You know, so it makes complete and total sense. But for me to sit here and go, oh, absolutely, they're a top 5 combination means I have to put completely to bed. I have to put out of mind every other situation that the Jets have looked like they made a smart bet that actually blossoms. Are you kidding me?
Here's the deal, Ray. Here are the numbers. Okay,
I don't care about the numbers.
You don't care about the numbers? I'm just going to tell you. It's not even 12. Okay,
I can't hear the numbers over the cackling of the football gods right now. They are laughing at you, Chris.
No,
do you not hear? Like,
no,
listen.
hold on.
Do you not hear the laughter? Where you're like, oh yes, Chris, tell Rich the stats about. It's not that large of a number to be a top 5 connection.
It's 10. Okay, Chase
10.
at 17, McLaurin 13, Amon-Ra 12, Mike Evans, the GOAT 11,
Right.
T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, and Brian Thomas Jr. 10. That's it. 10.
Got it.
Like Billy Bob and Varsity Blues.
Great.
10.
Great. I'm sure it's going to happen.
Thank you for
because it
laughing,
makes
Jay
sense.
Kelly.
It makes such sense. The Jets made such a smart bet. They're laying the bet. It's so perfect. Listen, it was the smart move to do this. Great move. I don't care. It's $20 million. That is half of what the most, overpaid person who's never done it before makes, right? Come on. And they needed to make sure Garrett Wilson understands you got to be the guy here for a long time. We're let's go back to the 2019, the Big Ten. Go for it.
There he is.
Treat the rest of everyone else like the Big Ten.
So many touchdowns.
Aaron Glenn, think he's Urban Meyer. He'll wind up sitting there and, saying, oh, I have a headache. I need to leave. Get out of here. The whole thing's stupid that you would even say such a thing. Overreaction.
10 is not that many. That's all I'm saying. Rich,
but they made the right move, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Last one.
Okay.
DeMarcus Lawrence is right. The Seahawks have better Super Bowl chances than the Cowboys.
I don't believe that. I can't believe that. I understand what you're saying. DeMarcus Lawrence, his family's there in Dallas. He does not get the deal in Dallas that Seattle is willing to give him. If Dallas was even intimating publicly that they were thinking Tank Lawrence is going to retire and he doesn't get the money to stay there and he doesn't have to move his children, he doesn't have to move his family, he gets to stay there, and the Cowboys do not afford him that opportunity and he's got to go to the Pacific Northwest to get it, he is going to sit there and he is going to say what he said into a microphone about the Dallas Cowboys. I understand that he also believes he's in a better situation, and good for him. And good for him. And if anybody in Dallas says otherwise, they better be careful because Tank Lawrence is out of F's to give. He's going to spill some friggin' tea. Now, he might not have liked the reaction that everything was being talked about. And all he had to say is just that one line into a microphone.
One line. It's all it took.
Okay, and then all of a sudden it goes everywhere. So maybe he doesn't want that noise. He just wants to be up in the Pacific Northwest and let his play do the talking. I understand that. But that said, come on, man. Dak Prescott has gotten more experience being the man and being a successful quarterback than we've seen from Sam Darnold just yet. Okay? CeeDee Lamb is still the guy. They just got to figure out how they can make some offensive noise without those two being the main engine. And they haven't provided anybody else with the confidence and the people to let us think they're going to do it. But Seattle's totally redone themselves, and Dallas has got to come back healthy, and we'll see what the hell happens. But the Cowboys still have, one of the top quarterback to wide receiver combinations.
That's true.
And we'll see what they do in the draft. Let's put a pin in this conversation and see what it's like when training camp hits. But right now, this is an overreaction.
Right now, the Super Bowl odds, Seattle 47-1, Dallas 60-1.
I get it. I understand. It doesn't help that they swap out Rico Dowdle for Miles Sanders and that they don't do any splash move again in free agency. They just don't. It doesn't help.
Maybe he'll do it in the draft.
And it doesn't help that the Super Bowl champs look as great as ever. And Washington made the smartest moves, I think, in free agency. I mean, if you ask me, we're done? If you ask me who made the best moves in the first week of free agency, and there's tons of things to talk about, Washington using their cap space to say, before we even draft somebody, before we, I know they lose, Jonathan Allen, they cut him, he winds up in Minnesota. I understand that they didn't keep everybody. Jeremy Chin's now in Vegas. But to basically say we are going to give our unicorn a weapon like Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil to protect him at the tackle spot and give up draft capital and use their cap space to pay players that the other teams are just not willing to pay at their stages of their career. They'd rather take the draft capital, I thought was genius. So, of course, people are thinking Dallas has less of a chance. They have less of a chance in their own division. So why should they have more of a chance to actually make the run more successfully than Seattle? I get the idea. I'll just call it an overreaction. Good stuff, Christopher.
All right, bud, we're back.
All right, we are back. On our flagship show, it's going to be a lot of March Madness talk as well. But we'll keep an eye on Aaron Rodgers as of right now. He didn't sign, right, during this pod?
No, that's what I was looking for.
All right, very good. For Chris, I'm Rich. This is Overreaction Monday. Peace out. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.